Okay, good morning. So we're up to Siman Kuf Pei Gimel. Hamavarech Eichi Snaig B'Koshel Birchas Hamazon. So how Lemaisa do we do benching ala Kais? Eichi Snaig B'Koshel Birchas Hamazon. Says the Mechab in Sif Aleph, Kais Shel Bracha Ta'un Hadochos Mibifnim Ushtifa Mibachutz. The Koshel Bracha needs rinsing inside, on the inside of the kais, ushtifa mibachutz, and sort of rubbing on the outside. Ve'imhu noki ve'ein boy shirei kaises ein tzarech. But if the becher is clean, then you don't need to worry about it. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you've got an aleph ton hadacha, v'hu adin im konchei b'mapo adshu noki deshari. And so too, it doesn't have to actually be rinsed. If you just sort of wipe it with a cloth that it's clean, then that is enough. Shiori kaises, shiori yain sheshara by pas. You've got some remnants of wine where you dip some bread in it, and you've got some residue there. It needs to be cleaned from that. But if, however, the becher is clean, then ein tzarich v'toiv lahadiach afilu k'she'ein b'shir pas. Even if there's no sort of remnants of bread in it, then it's still good to do it. Unless it's sort of clean and polished. And therefore, on Friday nights, tonight in Hashem, when you make kiddush, although there is a minhag of hadoch and shtifa, of washing and sort of rinsing the kais before, if the cup is noki v'tzach, says the Mishnah Berurah, it's clean and it's polished, it's nice, then there's no need to do anything. Interesting, in footnote number 3, he says, if you wash up on Motzei Shabbos, and it's kept in a place, you put it back in the silver cabinet or something, you don't really need to rinse it again the following Shabbos. You just put it on the table, because it's been cleaned and it's been kept in a safe, clean place. And so too, on Friday night after Kiddush, if you just rinse the kais then, and you've put it aside for tomorrow morning, for Kiddush on Shabbos morning, that is sufficient. You don't actually need to do hadacha or shtifa. Okay. Remember, in those days, they would have very, very strong wine. So you'd have to dilute it. It's much the same as like a ribena or a sort of a concentrate, and then you would add water to dilute it. Well, so too, yitin hayayin l'soichei chai, you can put the wine when it's still in its raw state into the becher, ad shemagia lebirchas haaretz, until you get to the bracha of birchas haaretz, which is the second bracha of benching. V'az moizgai, and then you can add water. Lohidia shevach haaretz, to show the power, the beauty of the land. That because it's look what it produces. The grapes are so powerful, so potent that they produce such a concentrated wine. You've got to actually dilute it. So therefore, it's an enhancement of the second bracha of birchas haaretz. And therefore, to add wine, leave it there. You've got let's say a third, whatever it is, of the concentrated wine, and then you add the water after the first bracha, before the second bracha of birchas haaretz. V'yesh omrim.
If it's a French wine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but we'll see. It doesn't nowadays. We don't add water to our wines. There's not really nogea. V'yesh omrim, you do? Okay. V'yesh omrim, that's mitzad. Yeah, that's not because of the quality of the wine. That's mitzad din and rachamim, all that sort of stuff, Chaim, I think. Yeah. V'yesh omrim dim hayayin ein chazok ein tzarich lamozgei. That's what you're saying, Yossi. Yeah, that if the wine, like our wine today, is ready to drink, then we don't need to be moizeg, and you just v'chein noagin be'elu harotzos. Let's just do the Mishnah Berurah on that. Chai pirush Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Dalet kamoshehu b'li maziga, in its raw state without being diluted. Af she'ein roy l'shtoisa kach kamoshehu, that you can still bench ala kais for the first bracha in its raw state, according to the Mechaba, the birchas haaretz, and then you add the water before birchas haaretz, pirush l'tchilas birchas haaretz, the beginning, before you begin that bracha, which is noidelecha. Shevach haaretz sheyein chazak, that its wine is very strong. Shetzarich lemozgim b'mayim, you need to dilute it. V'ayim Beis Yosef shekosav, the Beis Yosef writes, in his area, in his locale, they were still naig to add a bit of water, even though the wine was not necessarily strong. And see there the reason. I think that's like we just said, is because of you're being Mosif Rachmim, you're being Mevatel the Din, that sort of thing. Okay, let's just finish off the Ramah. l'shem bracha. When you take it out of the barrel, you should do it l'shem bracha. This is for the mitzvah of birchas hamazon, of benching ala kos, or whatever the mitzvah is, kiddush, havdalah. V'nira de ledidon she'ein lanu harbe yain. We don't keep barrels of wine in our storehouses. Ein tzarich rak l'shoifchem min hakankan she'shemri b'hayayin l'shem bracha. We merely need to just pour it from the kankan, from the jug, the bottle, l'shem bracha. V'chovis lavdavka barrel. V'chein nagim dinas elu v'kosha bracha yimalenu sheyeh mole al kol geduyosov. That the kosha bracha should be full on all the sides of the case. Says the Ramah, says the Mishnah Berurah, l'shem bracha sif kotzen ches. L'shem bracha, you pour it out. L'shem bracha. Hainu sheyetzienu samach lebracha min hachovis l'shem bracha. You pour it from the barrel, or nowadays from the bottle, just immediately before you're about to use it. L'shem bracha. V'lo yotzienu mikodem v'yishta b'keli v'yishtoh b'keli. Don't pour it too early, and then it will be sort of sitting in the becher for too long. V'zeh rak lemitzvah namuvcha. That's only, however, ideal. That you should do it. Samach lebracha. Sheyeh mole. It should be full. And even that it's, some may even spill over. Others say no, don't fill it too much. That it's still got it's still got a name of mole. The mole who rak mitzvah lechatchila. It doesn't have to be, this concept of being full is only a mitzvah lechatchila and it's not ma'akev. So long as there is a shir avias in your becha, or k'moshe kosafti b'siman reish ayin aleph, Mishnah Berurah sif kotten mem beis ayin sham. So that's interesting, because imagine you've got a becha, and let's say you haven't got any more grape juice, or you've run out of wine or something. So you've got half a becha. So long as that has got a revius, then you're okay. The concept of yain mole is only lechatchila. It's again the same thing. It's all the birchas hamitzvahs. There is an extra idea of havdalah that you yishbach yain, and that's the Ramah brings. Mishnah will get there. The Ramah brings, but that's only lechatchila. But yeah, as long as you've got a revius, then it's enough. And I mentioned yesterday that the Dayan Zatzal, how he told me it doesn't have to be like you have your cup of tea. He told me, yeah, and just also. Just when he says that how much is a revir, it's always good to chazan to remember what is a shir revir. So in number 6, he gives you the good memory code. There's a famous machlekes, the Chazon Ish and Reb Chaim Noah. The Chazon Ish says 150 milliliters, and Reb Chaim Noah says 86 milliliters. And the way to remember it is that kos. 86 is gematria kos, which is Reb Chaim Noah's share, and the Chazon Ish 150 is kos hogun. Yeah, Kos Hagen, the Gematria is 150. An easy way to remember. Okay, Sif Gimel. Tzarich lachzach kos sholem. One should try and find a complete kos, not something which is broken or chipped. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Miloshen zeh mashma durak lechatchila ve'ein ikuv badova. Again, it's not an ikuv if it's not totally sholem. Says Mishnah Berurah, sholem shelo yehi guf hakos shavur. That means that the actual body of the becha should not be broken. V'lo pogum bisfoso, not dented in any way by its rim. Afilu chisaron muot, even if it's a little bit of a chisaron, it's chipped or something. Of a nistak, and if it's split, yesh lahakpid lechatchila, to avoid using that. Afilu b'lo chisaron klal. V'chein im guf hakos sholem rak besiso nishban. Now sometimes you have that. You have a kos with a stand. Or a sort of you've got the main body, and then there's a base to it with a thin sort of pole or whatever that connects it. So if that is broken, gam kein yesh lahakbid, one should be particular about that as well. That even the base should not be pogum in any way. Should not be shavur. It should be, the whole thing should be sholim. Even though it could still stand on its base, im lo she'ein lo acher yesh lahaka b'chol zeh. Again, if you haven't got another one, then if you've got another one, use the other one. If not, you can be makel. Over kisui kalim afshele nasu lekabala, with the covering of a kalim, even though it's not used to receive, to hold things. Gamkin ein lahagbid im ein lo aches, like a bowl or something like that. Kosev Magen Avram b'shem abach yorei shemayim lo yivarech b'mitznefes. That yorei shemayim should not make a bracha without wearing some sort of mitznefes, a head covering. Rak yosim, just like putting a sort of a handkerchief over his head. But rather, Yosim HaKova al Rosha, better he should put a hat on. For Yeshinagim Gankin Isatif Bebeged Elyon, that means they put a jacket on for benching. That's one of the 10 requirements. The Gemara says that you should have for the kosher bracha ituf, and therefore you put a jacket on, that will count. The minhag is, says the Mishnah Berurah in Klal Yisrael, that you wear a hat. Even if you're benching on your own without a kos, the minhag is, he says, to wear a hat. Now, a couple of interesting ha'aras. Number one, we're talking about the type of kos that you use. So the famous question is, can you use a plastic cup for benching, a disposable throwaway cup? So if you look at number 8, this is a famous debate. A one-off, a sort of disposable cup. You should avoid using a plastic cup for kiddush, or for benching, or for kosher bracha, because a kos which you're going to throw out after use, ein lo shum chashivas, it's lacking chashivas. Im ein kos acheres yitochen sheyesh lo hakel b'dava. Says Ramesha, if there's nothing else to use, then yitochen lechera, you can be mekel. V'chein kos b'shal shuvas minchas yitzchak, lahachme b'zeh, to avoid using a plastic disposable cup. Im ein lo kos acheres, again he says, like Ramesha, if there's nothing else, yochel yachet kosu l'shumash kavur, use is designated for permanent use, hoil be'etzem muri lekach for the kaddish oleh, because it can be used more than once, and therefore you can make kiddush on it. He then brings in the next paragraph other poskim who are more lenient. Hagon Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, tzidei she'ein psul b'kos chad pamid, hoil v'hikol kli haroi lekabel tuma, because at the end of the day it can be mekabel tuma. V'chein heikel Hagon Shmuel Vosna, v'chein das Hagon Shlomo Zalman Auerbach. They've made for this purpose, for drinking purposes, and adds sometimes at meals, you use disposable material. So certainly it's lechatchila to use a nice becher or something like that. But if there's nothing else, then according to the latter poskim, it's certainly allowed, and even according to Ramosha and the Minchas Yitzchak, if there's nothing else, then there is what to rely on. Okay, now just regarding the comments about wearing a jacket and that, if you look at number 10, some interesting points. Milashonei mashma, the Lashon of the Mishnah Berurah suggests you don't need to put a jacket on for benching. It's not, you don't have to. Indeed, the Orach HaShulchan makes this point that we don't see, says the Orach HaShulchan, the need to put on people doing this, but people putting on a jacket for benching. Omnam Hagon Chaim Kanievsky also sheyesh lizoy little bit chalifas b'shas habroch, that you should, if you can. And then on top of the next column, Oladas Hagon Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg im loivesh suda yofa sveda yofa. So that means very interesting. So you're wearing a nice jumper, a nice sweater. Nechshav zeh gam zeh lebeged elyon choshev. Very interesting, right? So if you're wearing a nice jumper, a nice sweater, says Reb Scheinberg, that suffices. V'das Hagon Shlomo Zalman Auerbach she'ika hakvoda hi al levishes kova ach minag ha'elam nilvesh chalifa ach kishmevarach b'loi kais. So Reb Shlomo Zalman says that the actual, the hid, or the real hiddur, is to wear the hat rather than over the jacket. If you can wear both, then great. But the preference is the wearing a hat, and that's what the Mishnah says. V'chein nagu. It doesn't seem to be an absolute halacha. V'chein nagu. But Mishram, we'll get to that when we get to Mishram. It comes on later on. Okay, Dalet. Let's just finish off this sif. So you're benching ala kais, and they pour it immediately before benching. The person pouring it gives it to the person who's being mevarech, and he receives it in two hands. The Mishnah Berurah explains, because it shows chavivus of the mitzvah. So you receive it in two hands. And when you begin benching, you hold it in your right hand. But don't sort of support it with the left hand. Don't support the kos with the left hand. Says the Ramah, that the left hand is not touching and supporting the kos. But if you want to support your hand, the right hand, that is okay. Umagbia mekarka tefach, you raise it from the ground a tefach. That means if you imhu yoshev al gabi karka, meisiv b'shulchan, but if you're sitting at a table, magbia mela shulchan tefach, you raise it from the table one tefach. So you're holding it up a tefach. For noisin by einov shelo yasiach daitoi, and you're looking at the kais. You're not misiach das from the kais. Hagav alizei kein ein loichin kais shpir tsar shekarin gluk gloz levorichalov. And therefore you try to avoid using this particular keli. It's a very narrow keli, which the Mishmar will explain. He questions this whole concept. And then when you finish and you've drunk and you made berbegof and you drunk from it, then you should send it to your wife that she should also drink from it. Okay, it says in the Mishnah Yud Beis, mekable b'shtei yodov. So you receive, the person benching receives the kais with two hands. Kosav ataz hatamhu. The reason is kedei laharos chavivus kabolas hakais olav, to show that it's choshev for you, it's chaviv, it's precious to you. V'achakach oichse biyad echad, and then you hold it with one hand. Shelo yeh nira olav kamasu, that it's not a burden. Of yad yamin sheo ikka v'achoshev, and that is that you hold it with the right hand. V'shelo tiga hainu afilu im yirtz lechaz hakais biyad yaminoi. Even if you want to hold it with the right hand, be'emtza hakais, or v'yad smoila yechzena mitachtov, you want to hold it, for example, like this, to hold it like that, and then to that underneath it, even then, the left hand should not be touching the kais. L'sayeya, pirush, sha'kais munach al kaf hayamin, neisen asmal mitachas lismech yad yamin. So, for example, if you're holding the kais like this, then to put your left hand underneath to hold it, that's okay, that's no problem. Sometimes it's hard, you need to support it. Where are we? Mutter tesvov, sif cotton tesvov, mutter kimish enogea bakos. So using your left hand to support your right hand is allowed because you're not actually touching the kos with your left hand. V'achrenim kosvut yesh lahachme bezeh melutzoyrech, to avoid using the left hand. Kosov hashlo al pi hakabbalah nochen sheyamid hakos al kaf yeminoi ve'etzbois yutzukufim soviv. That you should hold the kos, the becher, in your palm, and then the finger should be around it. Lo yitla kos bebati yadayim rak yisir mekoden. You shouldn't hold the kos with gloves. You should take the gloves off. Now it's interesting. There seem to be different ways of holding the becher. Some hold it. Some hold it just like that. They hold the becher like that, and then some hold it like that. So he's saying the shlo says al pi kabbalah, that's the correct way to do it. But there you'll see different people. You'll see more the Hasidic olam, they hold it like that. You'll see pictures of rebbes making havdalah or whatever. They'll hold it like that. That's based on, no doubt, on this shlo. But others would hold it just in the regular way with their fingers wrapped around it like that. Okay. Umagbiyah, and you hold it up. You're holding it up so that everyone can see it. And they're looking at it. If you look at note 15, that 15 is at the back of the Sefer. 15, it's page 33. How long do you actually hold it for? Interesting. So again, a debate about that. So till the very end of benching. So you finish benching, you make a berber gofen till then. And also the shevet halevi. This is benching. This is benching. Meidach Orach HaShulchan says sheminag hu lahachazik hazakos ad harachamon. So after the Rachman, al yachasreinu, you put it down then, and then you make it. So, and that seems to be the prevalent minhag. That's what you see people do. Okay, let's just finish off the Mishnah Berurah. Shelo yasiach daitoi min habracha, not to be mesiach das from the bracha. Interestingly, he just says in 16 that hamadaktik kizoy levorach berachas hamazon mitoich sefer v'loy balpeh. Right? There's a hakbara to try and bench from a bencher and not to be. So he says that Shulchan Torah explains shezeh dafka misha einu mevorach ala kos, because the person who's benching ala kos should really be focusing on the kos. If he needs the bencher to bench, that's okay. But that hakbara is on the other people. Okay. He lifts it up. This is talking about this thing that the Ramah talks about, this very narrow glass. So he says the Achronim question is the Kavanas HaGemara Masha Amar V'Nois Ne'enu, but when the Gemara says you look at it, Hanu B'Hakais V'Lo Masha V'Soichei, they're talking about looking at the kais, not the contents of the kais, the wine. V'Alkein Ein LaHakbit B'Zeh. Therefore, he doesn't understand what the Ramon means that you don't use this gluk glass, which is a very narrow opening, and you can't see the wine. That's not the point. You should be looking at the kais, not the wine. And therefore, Ein LaHakbit B'Zeh Meinu Yochel Hasik B'Kal Kliache. You shouldn't worry too much. Okay. And you pass it to your wife. Through this kosher bracha, the wife is also blessed. Even if the wife didn't eat, partake of the meal with them. And if there are other guests there, the others should also drink from the kosher bracha. And if a guest is honored to lead benching, then yitin gam lebalabais lishos mikos shel bracha kadesh yisbarach balabais. He should also pass it to the balabais, and he can also partake of the kais and get the benefit of this bracha.